Welcome, everyone, to our latest edition of Voices United. It's our podcast that we record right here in Crystal River at United Way of Citrus County. And so today, my guest is Dr. Vernon Lawter from CF. Let's get right to it. Vernon, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, George. Hope you are. Thanks for having me on your program today.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, listen, just for everyone, let me just tell you now at the beginning instead of at the end. Uh, Vernon and I, we want you to share this. Okay, share this to your Facebook profile. I'm sure we'll have some conversation today that other people need to hear about. This important topic today is talking about CF and education, and so share this. It's always great when you click like, but we want you to share. Also, we will take the audio from today's interview and we'll load that to our Voices United podcast. And presently, you can get that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. More platforms coming soon. Anyway, so Vernon, we were just talking there before we went live. You are a traveling man.
I'm a traveling man for sure. I'm responsible for two of the campuses here, our Gulf Coast campuses, if you will. So the main campus, I guess the larger campus, we don't like to use the word main here because we're Maine too, but our larger campus is in Ocala. And then my responsibility includes the Citrus campus here in Lecanto, as well as the Levy campus up in Chiefland, a little north of Chiefland at this point. So I
That's
am
right
on the
off
road a
of
lot.
19, right? Right off of 19.
It's right off 19. It's our newest campus. It was opened in 2017.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a beautiful place when you drive by. I figured that must have been a newer location.
Yeah, it's the newest. We've been here a while. I think most people in the community hopefully know where we are. But if you get the chance, right up towards Chiefland, a little through town, and you'll see our newest campus.
So just reading up a little bit on you, man. I went to cf.edu and was poking around there, and when I find your name, it's Dr. Vernon. By the way, I don't think I've ever referred to you as Dr. Lawter ever.
It's okay, George. My mom didn't name me doctor, so I'm not offended.
Right. But in order for me to find you, I find you listed under president's staff. So that kind of means to me you're kind of a big deal around campus.
Maybe the best way I could explain that is I'm not a big deal. I support a lot of people. Let's put it that way. It's my job to make sure that a lot of other people have the support and the resources and sort of the guidance that they need to do their job. So yeah, president's staff refers to the president and the vice presidents for all of the campuses and all the functions here at the college. But thanks for making me think I'm a big deal, George. I appreciate that.
Well, Vernon, someone's got to do it. I mean, someone has to do it. If you ever just need brought down to reality, come on over here to the United Way office. I got 3 ladies that do it to me every single day. So
I know you do. You got a tough team over there. I've known them for years. So good for them.
Yeah. And in fact, you used to be on the board of United Way. So, and now both you and I are on the board of the chamber. So you're a guy that's obviously is committed to the community and helping others. So certainly we appreciate that as well.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know that already, George. We've got a great community. So anything we can do, to make it an even better community, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, listen, in CF has so many has been recognized for plenty of awards. It really feels to me like we've got this gym sitting out there in Lecanto that I'm not going to say it's like hidden or overlooked or whatnot, but when you take a little deeper dive, if you're just sort of your normal Citrus County citizen going about your life, and we know that there's this campus out there. There's a lot of awards that CF has received and has been recognized for.
We've gotten a lot of recognition. I mean, historically we get a lot of recognition, but here lately, maybe even a little bit more. So if you give me the liberty to tell you what some of those are,
I'd love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, we are every 2 years the Aspen Institute ranks community colleges, and we have made the top 15%. We've made Aspen's top 15% list almost every one of those cycles. We certainly made the last one. So we're recognized in terms of quality nationally by the Aspen Institute, and the best list you could be on, I think, for a community college. And we're still categorized in some ways as a community college, since our primary degrees are still the associate level, the 2-year degrees, if you will, even though we now offer bachelor's degrees. Probably the most recent recognition we got, really stemmed from what happens here at the Citrus campus. We were rated 2 years in a row by, I guess it's nursing.org. I'm gonna butcher the website, but
no, you've got it. I pulled it up on screen here, Vernon. Well, you were real close. It's registerednursing.org.
Registerednursing.org, and I should have that committed to memory. But we've been voted the #1 nursing program in the state of Florida for 2 years running now, and that's based, George, in part on the pass rates for the NCLEX. All the nurses who complete their studies then have to take the NCLEX to be licensed to practice. And we've had, I think, 3 out of the last 4 years here at Citrus, we've had 100% pass rate for the NCLEX. That's really unheard of, and we're extremely proud of that. So you'll see that on billboards around the community now, and we can't say that enough. So thank you for letting me take an opportunity to share that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've pulled up the website, and you talked about quality, affordability, accessibility. I'll tell you, like, the return on investment right at the bottom of the page is it is so important to me. 88% of CF graduates are found employed or continuing their education within 1 year of graduation. Now, listen, I'm not somebody that delves into those numbers every day, but that seems very impressive to me, especially when you pair that up with the affordability that 2/3 of CF graduates leave the college with no loan debt. Vernon, in 2024, that is a massively big deal, I believe.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up as well. There's sort of a dialogue out. It's even a national dialogue, George, and we've all heard it, that college, there's a perception maybe it's not worth the investment anymore. It costs too much. You're going to leave with $100,000 in debt. That's really not the case here. You know that, as you highlighted with some of those statistics. We're part of the solution to that. We're not part of the problem. So it really doesn't apply here. We're in the top 1 or 2% nationally in terms of affordability. So if you pair the affordability, we're one of the most affordable schools in the country, and we're one of the highest quality schools in the country. So we know for sure we're worth the investment in us. So we're not part of the problem of the national student debt issue.
Yeah. I listened to, I've mentored young people for so many years in my career, the overwhelming majority of my career doing that. And when it comes to higher education, if there's one thing that I've told so many high school students, especially as they're nearing graduation, is go to CF. Don't succumb to this pressure to go off to get the college experience somewhere. Look, there'll be time for that. Go get your college experience your junior, senior year, even if that's what you are intent on doing. But why in the world you would just go off to school and incur the cost of that when it is just so much more expensive, rather than go to CF? Like, it's what a fantastic deal. And I don't know. It feels like that's kind of a thing, just that pressure of going off for the 4-year school and not giving CF a look sometimes.
I had two teenagers at one point who were sort of lobbying to go away. When they graduate high school, there's a real appeal to getting out of town and going to the big, the fun city where there's lots of activities and big football games. So many of the youngsters want to get out there and participate in that, and I get that, but there's just such an advantage. And I'll give you a quick illustration. If a student dual enrolls in their junior and senior year of high school, we haven't talked about dual enrollment yet. Well, dual enrollment is a way to get your 2 years of college, your first 2 years. If you're interested in getting a 4-year degree, you can get your first 2 years for free. Students don't pay for dual enrollment. So that really cuts down 4 years of expense for college to 2. Even if you transfer, you could stay here and get a 4-year degree as well. or you could go to that university that you really wanted to go to out of high school, do your last 2 years for basically half the cost. You're paying for 2 years instead of 4. The other thing that families really don't think about very often when we talk is that student is going to enter the workforce 2 years sooner. They're going to graduate 2 years sooner. So they're going to have 2 more years of income earned. So there's just a massive, financial return on the investment. If you're smart and you do it right, and you say students want the college experience. Well, they get the college experience here too. It's a little different. It's more based in academics, but the plus side of that is they get a lot of one-on-one interaction with their faculty here. Not really going to get that at most bigger universities. They make a lot of friends. We have a close-knit group. We have lots of student life activities, so they still get the college experience per se. They just don't get the big city experience, if you will, and I don't know how to make that happen in Lecanto. George, if you can figure that out, you let me know.
Well, if I can figure that out, I'm going to charge copious amounts of money for that, and we will never worry about funding at United Way ever again. So, that's what we'll do.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the thing is, I know that they say that people's brains are not fully developed until they're like 25. That's about the time I think where some folks get the bill for their student loans really start to come due.
Right.
So everybody could do themselves a favor and preemptively avoid that type of situation. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So you brought up dual enrollment. Yeah, I wanted to go there because both of my children, they're both graduated now, and both of them were in dual enrollment, and I couldn't think of a better thing for them to do. I went to school in Ohio. That's where I grew up. Go Buckeyes. But and that just wasn't a thing. That was not a thing. Dual enrollment was not a thing. If it was, no one told me about it, Vernon.
Right.
But I was pushed along that AP track, college prep track, and here I am taking on these very, very difficult classes. I had to work at the same time. Played baseball. Sort of very overwhelmed. Man, if there's one thing that I would do different is I would do dual enrollment if it were possible to get some of those college classes done out of the way at no cost. My son had one class his senior year on campus at high school, and that was the second semester. The first semester, he didn't even darken the door of the high school at all. And so it was just college classes, and that saved us a lot of money at our house.
Yeah, same year. My son studied digital media here. His junior and senior year of high school, he really spent all of his time on this campus here at Citrus. Transferred to UCF as a lot of our students do, and we have a direct connect partnership with UCF. If you graduate from CF, you're guaranteed admission to UCF. Same with our honors program. If you're in the honors program here and you graduate, you are guaranteed admission to the Burnett Honors College, which is a big deal at UCF. So he did that, went to UCF, finished his last 2 years in digital media, just as he started here, and was hired sort of right out of college by a Microsoft subsidiary, Obsidian Entertainment, and now designs video games out in California. So the pathways here are real. They work, they make sense, they're affordable, and we do our best to make sure that people in the community really understand that. There's still folks out there, unfortunately, who haven't heard it, don't get it, but we're doing what we can, and things like this, George, will really help get that message out there.
Can you talk a little bit about the nursing program out there, because I know that that's highly acclaimed, and it feels to me like just as a citizen here in Citrus County that is one of the most popular programs that you all have.
Yeah, it is, and it really should be. We already talked about it being rated the #1 nursing program. We started nursing here in 2006. I don't know how much of the story you want, but we got a legislative appropriation from Jenny Brown Wade back in the day that allowed us to start a very small cohort, in nursing. We're now up to 40 to 48 students that we can take in our nursing program, and we admit a new group every year, new cohort every year. It's a 2-year program. So we take roughly 20 to 24. We're open to take up to 24 students each year. Now, that's not an open access program. I mean, it's competitive. If you want to come to CF, you're welcome to come to CF, but you're guaranteed admission if you have a high school diploma, but you're not guaranteed admission into nursing. So there are some prerequisites you have to take in nursing. And if, it can be pretty competitive. We have a lot of really good students working to get into the program. We still have capacity at this point, so there's no waiting list. So if you qualify, you will be admitted. But probably the most exciting thing about nursing right now, and you're in the community, so you probably heard some of this, is the Citrus County Hospital Board over the last few years has donated $12.7 million-ish, maybe $13 million, to CF for the nursing program. And most of that has been matched by the state through the line grant. That's a line grant. It's a program the state put out a couple of years ago, and we've received the two largest allocations of matching funds for the line grant, the largest in the state for the past 2 years. So what that really means is we've taken in about $25 million for our nursing program, both here at Citrus, and it also supports Citrus County students who want to go take the nursing program in Ocala. And because of the endowment we've been able to establish with those funds, if you are a Citrus County resident and you are admitted into the CF nursing program, the associate degree nursing program, you do not pay tuition. The endowment covers your tuition. So that's every nursing student from Citrus County who's admitted to CF. That's a lot of people. I think we currently have 44, 45 Citrus County residents paying zero tuition to be in the #1 nursing program in the state of Florida. So that's fun to talk about. I mean, we can talk about that all day long. Yeah, you don't really get a better deal than that. We're excited for our students and happy for them, and thankful for what the Citrus County Hospital Board's done that's made all that possible.
That's what I wanted people to hear. #1 nursing program. If you're accepted into it, it is competitive, which, by the way, there's some stuff that ought to be competitive. If I'm at the hospital being taken care of by somebody, I like to think that, yeah, they went through a competitive process. So #1 nursing program, if you're accepted into that, Citrus County resident, you're not going to pay anything. The economic impact of that, Vernon, year over year over year, is just it's just incredible. When we talk about
the multiplier for that, when you start factoring, what the salaries are for those graduates when they come out, what that means for their families, the impact it has on their families and the communities. We all know our hospitals, they can hire anyone we can graduate and more. So if we can expand capacity, we'll try to do that as well. George, I know we're talking about nursing, but we're starting another new program here on campus. Our respiratory therapy program, our respiratory care program, launches in January. So we're looking right now for our first cohort of students who want to enter that program. We also have an endowment that will support tuition for those students for the first cohort at least. So, that will most likely be a no tuition program for Citrus County residents as well. So anyone interested in starting that in January really should reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. You don't start programs. You can buy all the equipment in the world. You can hire the faculty, but if you don't have students applying for your program, you don't have a program. So we're doing all we can to promote and recruit students right now so that launches in January.
So will the instruction be provided at the Citrus County Wilton Simpson campus, or will they make the short drive over to Ocala for those classes?
That program will be available entirely here. It will also be available in Ocala for those who live over that direction or choose to take the program over there. That will launch in January as well. So on both campuses, we'll launch a cohort in January.
Beautiful.
Still plenty of time to get into that cohort. That's a very high-paying job as well. The starting salary for that field is roughly $40 an hour for our graduates. So there's not a lot else you can do out there with a 2.5 year degree that pays you $40 an hour. So think about that. If you're at all interested or people are, send them our direction.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I want to talk about you for a minute before we go here. How did you get to CF and to this place where you are amongst the president's staff? Let's call it the cabinet. You're a member of the cabinet at CF. What was that journey like? How many people did you have to pay along the way? Pull the wool over their eyes? What'd that look like for you? Your educational and vocational journey.
there are some days if you sit in my seat, you would be paying people to take the position away from you. I mean,
Right.
it just depends on what day. This is a wonderful job. All kidding aside, I love it, and did earn a doctorate in higher ed administration with community college leadership. So I am credentialed, George, officially to do this. I did check the boxes of
Can you
earning
say
this
that one more time? A doctorate in community.
doctorate in higher education with community college leadership specialization.
Okay. Ooh, that's
So I
a
knew early on I
mouthful,
wanted.
and that's the first time I've ever heard of that. And that is a mouthful, sir.
Well, that was at NC State University. If you're going to give a plug for the Buckeyes, I'm going to say go Wolfpack. So
Yes,
everybody
sir.
else
Yeah.
understands that. But I had a really odd journey to where I am, and I'm grateful that I did. I don't know how much time you've got, but I spent the first 15 years of my post-high school days working as a machinist. Believe
Really.
it or not, I was learned a craft, learned a trade. Followed my dad to work one day at 19 years old, and it was there 15 years later. Always been thankful for that. So what that really provided me with was a chance to learn a technical skill. Eventually, George, I moved into the training component of that, trained others on technical skills, moved into an HR training coordinator role when I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, training people on CNC programming, well, you name it. I had about 400 employees. I had to figure out how to find, all the training that they needed. And then made the switch over to a community college and became a director of industry training. So in some ways it's an odd path, but it really makes sense when you think about it. I came in the technical vocational side, which community college is historically known for, and sort of migrated over to the academic side of things and became a director for a small campus up in North Carolina, and then here.
Well, listen, my theory though is that for folks like you who being a machinist, is that a job where you could lose a finger?
You can lose an arm. You can
Okay.
lose a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when people have jobs where they can lose a finger, they can lose an arm, there are real significant consequences to messing up. And that creates, I believe, within folks a real sense of practicality and conscientiousness, right? Which is one of the personality traits that's most highly associated with success. It's not lofty pie in the sky theoretical, right? No, if you do a certain thing, you lose a finger. I mean, that's just all there is to
Right.
it.
Yeah. You
And
become pretty diligent. Let's put it that way, and careful.
right. And so I like the idea of having someone like you in a position where you're at in community college where like you get it, like you want to see people come in and you want to see them be successful. You want to see them be conscientious. Where that 88% of people end up still employed or attaining higher education after 1 year. I don't know. It's just folks. It's folks that are very, very practical and have that real sense of conscientiousness. I'm sorry to repeat myself, but you get what I'm saying. Like
No,
I like
yeah.
I like it when folks like you are in education that have that type of background for sure. I think that's a
Well,
net benefit.
I can tell you one of the most valuable things I think I've gotten from having the blue collar beginnings is sort of a perspective on the whole tracking, if you will, in higher ed in the United States. We tend to look at young people as they're in their last year or two of high school, and we think who's going to go into vocational field and who's going to go to college, right? We look at people and we think in terms of tracks. Well, this person's not going to be academic. So which are you going to choose? Are you going to go get a blue collar career, learn a trade, a skill, and go to work, or are you going to go to college? I think, George, that's a huge mistake. I think culturally in the United States, we've got to sort of redefine that conversation. I think students should do both. I did both. There's no reason everyone can't prepare, learn some type of trade, and also go to college. Trades and colleges. That's not an oxymoron. I mean, it's the trades these days are extremely complicated. You have to have a lot of knowledge. You have to be very sharp. to operate, to function in a lot of the high skill trades, if you will, these days. So I guess the key component to all that is learning. We have to learn how to learn and be comfortable learning, whether it's, blue collar trade or academic. But we have to quit tracking students into thinking, I can only do this or I can only do that. No, the reality is you can do it all. You can do both. You can do, more than both. You can do three things. Most of us, as we know nowadays, will have many jobs in our long careers, hopefully long careers. There's no reason you can't, cross over. You can do one for a while and then swap over and have an entirely different career for 10 years. So that's just the kind of world we live in now. So I hope we move away from that whole, idea that you have to choose one pathway or another, because you really don't.
I met a guy yesterday who's retired. He went to Purdue, became a chemical engineer. He said he spent the first 15 years of his career polluting the environment, the second 15 years cleaning it up, and then after all of that said, the heck with all this, and went into commercial real estate in 1997 and didn't even know how to use a PC at the time.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, like totally different career change from chemical engineering into commercial real estate. Like, what in the world? Like, but yeah, the numbers bear that out, Vernon, that we're going to have many different, gone are the days largely of, like, for my father to go in to General Motors in Columbus, Ohio, and work for 32 years and then get that pension from Generous Motors. And he's almost there, Vernon, where he has received a paycheck for not working longer than he received a paycheck for working. And so,
well, good for him. Good for him. That won't be the case for me, though. I guarantee you that.
Right.
I'm already preparing for my next career at Home Depot. I'm really, every time I go by the paint department at Home Depot, I'm like, that's going to be me.
Man, that's it, man. I say the same thing. For me, it's either building those really nice looking displays at IKEA. Just give me a drill. Just give me a drill, screw gun. Let me have at it. Or it's going to be.
They'd be lucky to have you, George. Go on down there. They'll
Yeah. Yeah. You haven't been to our office recently. We've made this place beautiful. You're going to have to stop by here. Or I'm going to go to Lowe's, because it's just a stone's throw from my house. I'm just going to go over there, and hopefully Tim will give me a job, and I'll just enjoy working at Lowe's.
Lowe's is good too.
Sometimes, Vernon, I drive through the neighborhood and I see guys out cutting grass, and I think they have no idea how good they have it. Zero stress on that lawnmower, pack it in, go to the house. That's it. So anyway, listen, I'm glad you're where you're at, and I'm glad you didn't lose a finger, an arm, or anything else, at least that I know of, being a machinist. And that's a cool.
I'm one of the few. I have them all. Look, all there. I'm one of the few.
There you go. Awesome. All right. Well, Vernon, hey, I appreciate you spending time with me today, and we definitely appreciate everyone watching or listening to this on our podcast platform, and share this with others. People in our community need to know about that nursing program and the respiratory therapist program. Did I get that right?
You did.
Respiratory therapist program is about ready to kick off. These are great careers, obviously affordable, like highly affordable. It may cost you nothing as long as you are welcomed into the program, and dual enrollment, all these different things. People need to know about it. And we got this gym right there in Lecanto. So,
well, we think so. We appreciate the kind words, and we'll definitely try to get this information out, as we do all the time. We'll share this, and hopefully we'll get a little traffic and see some folks here as a result.
Awesome. All right, Vernon. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And come back next week, and we'll do it again.